All right, guys. In this video, we're looking at part 2 of the Road to Secession, Standard 5.7. We'll begin with the election of 1860. There was a split in the Democratic Party. The party split between Northern Democrats and Southern Democrats, as we talked about before. Stephen Douglas, Northern Democrat of Illinois, had lost a lot of Southern support as a result of the Lincoln-Douglas debates when he seemed to take the side of abolitionists when trying to fight off Lincoln, and that would come back to bite him in the butt here because come the election of 1860, the Democrats could not agree. Now, President Buchanan, who was a Democrat, was dropped from the ticket. He was too hated. His presidency was not going. He was not going to get reelected, so they dropped him altogether. But the Democrats, because of their divide, will run two candidates. There will be a Northern Democrat and a Southern Democrat, and that's going to doom them in this election. Now, Lincoln was able to win this election without a single electoral vote from the South, and he wasn't even on the ballot in Southern states. So when this occurs, when this election is over, the fallout will be that free states showed that they had a political advantage by having a majority of electoral college votes, and Southern states will now recognize that because of this political power shift, that they felt this was the beginning of the end of slavery. And they probably were right, though Lincoln had no intention of removing or ending slavery in Southern states. His feeling was to prevent it from spreading. But to them, it did not matter what he said. They looked at that as simply the beginning of the end, and it was just a matter of time. So here is our electoral map. You can see here Lincoln represented in red, won northern and western free states, and the Southern Democrats and Northern Democrats, we got brown and green here, won slave states. There was another party, the Constitutional Union Party, which were moderates on both sides, and they actually managed to win the border states. These were essentially non-Democrats who were afraid of Republicans. As a result of all these candidates, Lincoln is able to lock up these free states. And again, as you see here, not a single Southern state, and he doesn't even win over 50% of the popular vote, but he does win the election. The math for that electoral college. Southern secession. It starts with the Deep South, and specifically with South Carolina. So South Carolina is going to be the first to secede. Most of the Deep South will follow after that, and these 6 states here. Texas, Louisiana, we got Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and Florida will follow with it. And these states would form the Confederate States of America in 1860. They put limits on tariffs and the regulation of slavery and elected Jefferson Davis as their president. They all stated slavery being the ultimate reason for their succession. Lincoln's response was he said, hey, I'm not going to end slavery where it already existed, just its expansion, and he promised not to initiate military force against the seceding states. Southern states, the Confederate States began to lock up military forts within their territory. One became into contention, and that was Fort Sumter off the coast of South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina. And so in April of 1861, they demanded that the Union surrender the fort. Lincoln refused, knowing that he was not going to initiate, but he used Fort Sumter as bait. The moment that the Confederates attacked Fort Sumter and captured it, this was now an act of war, something that he could then take to the North and say, hey, look, I didn't start it, they did. And at that point, Lincoln now is calling for this being an armed insurrection and begins calling for U.S. troops to put down this arms insurrection. This is not yet a declaration of war, but it is a call to arms. As a response, the Upper South, 4 of the states in the Upper South, Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee, and Arkansas, will join the Confederacy. After this, actually, in Virginia, there's going to be a split off. Western Virginia will leave the state of Virginia and join the United States as a border state. But the remaining 4, Missouri, Kentucky, Delaware, and Maryland, will stay with the Union. And this was a major victory for the United States to keep the border states for military purposes. They were not. You did not have their resources and their numbers supporting the Confederate in this military conflict. And Lincoln, when attempting to keep the border states, was very careful about not making this war about slavery. And when he does emancipate the slaves during the war, he only emancipates the slaves in the Confederate states, not in the border states. He did not want to lose them also. This will start the Civil War, right? So once the Upper South joins in, I believe it was May that they will join the Confederacy. By July of 1861, the Civil War will begin. All right, guys, that is it for this video.